Hey y'all, welcome back. It's me, Mama King, and we're going to go ahead and complete another reading, another section of The Great Cosmic Mother, Rediscovering the Religion of the Earth. I got time today, y'all, and I'm going to be reading outside, so you'll be hearing sounds of the neighborhood. Okay, I filmed a little bit of nature uninterrupted. So as I sit here on my front porch reading, you'll hear, someone's speaking right now. So they just came out of nowhere. The neighborhood's quiet. It's still early. Just 8 a.m. Yeah, the weather feels beautiful. I guess we've been having some storms. It's supposed to rain all week, but it's beautiful right now, so I'm taking advantage of it. Just had to step outside and get a breath of fresh air. I was going to go back to the basement and record this reading, but I couldn't bring myself to go back inside, okay, after being out here in this beautiful sunshine, this beautiful atmosphere, and aside from the mechanical sounds of the neighbors, and those driving by. You'll just be hearing the sounds of the birds, the trees, the rustling of the wind, and the sounds of the community coming alive on a Monday morning. All right. So the goddess at Avebury in Britain, I hope I was saying that correctly, pages 133 to 138, so about 5 pages. Avebury on the Wiltshire Downs in the south of England was the sacred center of megalithic culture in Britain. Avebury's stone circle is the largest yet found in England. I hope I say that right on, but pronounce that correctly through. I don't have my computer with me right now, and I'm really not in the mood to go look for it. Forgive me if it's incorrect, but that's what I see. Okay, it dwarfs Stonehenge. There are 77 other stone circles or hinges dating from the late Neolithic and early Bronze Age. Avebury was built by pre-Celtic people living in a farming community circa 2600 BC. It could be Avebury if I use my Midwestern pronunciation. Okay, so I'll say Avebury. AVE is abbreviation for avenue here in the States. Okay, so for thousands of years before its construction, the entire landscape of the surrounding area, stretching for about 37 miles, had been seen as the outline of the body of the goddess. Every hill, mound, stone, and long barrel was believed to form part of her maternal body. The 3 stone circles at the Causewayed Camp at Windmill Hill nearby predated Avebury by more than 600 years. The Avebury moments, which include Silbury Hill and West Kennet Long Barrel, form a condensed sequence of visual sculpted images within the center of the larger and more ancient presence. They express together journeys of cosmic range and the entire yearly agricultural cycle within the space of 3 fields. The monuments were aligned within the pubic triangle of 2 rivers meeting. These rivers were seen as superhuman blood streams gushing from the earth womb of the goddess. Here, every year anew, the goddess was born, grew into maiden and lover, became mother, and finally, the old hag of death. The temples were her seasonal reality, and the people moved with her from place to place, in rhythm and with the changing farming year. Our solar year is divided by solstices and equinoxes, but in the ritual calendar, the quarter days in between were used as the major days and nights of celebration. To the ancients, the lunar and solar manifestations of these days were equally important. The celebration nights fall in early August, November, February, and May on the appropriate lunar phase nearest to the solar quarter day. These are the witches' sabbats of Lammas, Samhain, Imbolc, and Beltane. At the August, summer, and February winter quarter days and nights, the moon and sun rose and set in alignment with the axis, joining the two sacred springs at Avebury. Avebury Circle originally had 98 stones, some up to 18 feet high, enclosing an area of 28.5 acres. Two smaller circles stand within the large outer one. The earthworks surrounding the horseshoe or circular space are bounded by a ditch with a bank beyond. Using only red deer antler picks and shovels made of ox shoulder blades, the people raised the earth bank nearly 50 feet above the ditch bottom, stretching almost a mile in circumference. Two serpentine stone avenues led into the circle. They were 1.5 miles long, 50 feet wide, and were defined by 100 pairs of stones set at intervals of 80 feet. In shape, the stones were broad-hipped and long forms of the goddess, alive and powerful in her stance. The Christian church began its long fight against the Avebury stones in 634, smashing them or exorcising them with the sign of the cross. Both inner circles were destroyed sometime after 1700, and many of the other stones were demolished or simply buried. This was at the height of the witch hunts, and these ritual stones of the goddess, just like her priestesses, the witches, were actually tortured and exorcised by Christian priests. The stones were burnt, chipped, mutilated. The institution of private property finally brought about the end of the sacred stones with the enclosure of common land by private wealthy farmers. The emergence of the landless proletariat and the modern notion of individual progress at the expense of the community fittingly coincided with the fall of the Great Mother at Avebury. Of the original stones in West Kennett Avenue, 72 were left in 1722. By 1934, only 4 were still standing, with 9 left fallen. In 1937, a Scots industrialist bought up the land, restored the ditch and earthworks, which had been serving as a rubbish dump, and dug up and reinstalled 43 of the buried megaliths. The long Avebury avenues represented the bisexual snake-dragon goddess, female and male in one. The West Kennett Avenue originated at the Serpent's Tail end from the sanctuary, once a circular temple labyrinth of complex timber structures covered with a conical roof. This might have been the puberty temple, where young women of the community were initiated into the mysteries of farming, sexuality, and childbirth in the springtime season of plowing and preparation of the seed bed. The young women re-entered her womb within the sanctuary, which is Silbury Hill, at a different season. Here the goddess is the hibernating spring quarter serpent, just reawakening from her long winter death sleep. On February 1st at Imbolc, Imbolc, the Feast of Lights was celebrated. Torches carried processionally in the night to help the goddess return from the underworld and to be reborn again. At the tail end of Beckhampton Stone Avenue, with its more phallic-shaped stones, was the male counterpart to the sanctuary, doubtless a temple for male initiation. Avebury Circle is where the young women and men met after dancing and winding their way up the avenues in imitation of the serpent at midnight of the waxing moon of the May quarter day. This stone circle forms both an enlarged cunt and a great head, the inner circles forming the lunar and solar eyes. It is also a world in island surrounded by the cosmic ocean, and its hidden power and secret is the sacred underground water and its hidden power and secret is the sacred underground water that seeps into the ditch in the spring. Here the unborn fetuses dwell. Avebury Henge was the goddess of love incarnate, the proper place of conception. Here was celebrated the communal yearly May festival wedding. Okay. Avebury Henge was the goddess of love incarnate, the proper place of conception. Here was celebrated the communal yearly May festival wedding in orgiastic rites. The entire community dancing with upraised arms on the outer banks in imitation of the horned new moon. This was Beltane. The maiden becomes a mother, and so the next stage of the cycle was centered at Silbury Hill, the pregnant womb of the goddess, the creation cone. Here, as already described, the people gathered on the summit on the night of the full moon at Lammas, the August quarter day night, to watch the harvest child being born. With oncoming winter, the goddess becomes the lady of the tombs, the hag of death, the mother of the dead. Her dwelling is now at West Kennet Long Barrow, where she retreats into the underworld after Samhain or Hallowmas. This barrow is 340 feet long and shaped in her gigantic image. The image of the Silbury mother is repeated within the chambers that represent vagina, birth passage, and uterus. But here is made hollow to receive the dead who were buried within her in fetal position. The 30 chamber stones of West Kennet might form a lunar monthly count. There is no water associated with this barrow, no spring, no stream. All is dryness and barrenness. There are only rivers of stone. West Kennet Long Barrow was built in 3500 BC. It is a Stone Age horned grave, tomb, womb, temple, and it is older than Avebury and Silbury Hill. The people were buried within it collectively, without distinction of class or hierarchy. It was ritually frequented by the living as well as by the dead. Megalithic culture is far older than was once supposed. Traces of a megalithic farming community have been found in County Tyrone, Ireland, dating from 4500 BC. Patriarchal Bronze Age culture was first brought to Britain circa 2000 BC by the taller, warlike, and aggressive Beaker people. In 2600 BC, the entrance to the West Kennet Long Barrow was sealed off with the huge megaliths, great stones. These stones formed the body of an ox. The goddess was moon and ox, one and bisexual. She is the ox lady. She emerges miraculously out of death through the sacred bull. There was continued veneration of the tomb during late Neolithic culture. On Samhain in November, the winter quarter day, A winter eve ox was sacrificed here on the night of the no moon. The ox was ridden by the Queen of Death, and this ox is miraculously reborn with the spring. The winter goddess lived on in folk memory as Black Annis. She was remembered as a great mountain builder. She and was a gigantic hag. There was also sacred hills in Ireland named for her, the Paps of Anu or Anu's breast. Pervading all the earthworks and stoneworks of Avebury was the desire to be close to the earth. The people drew strength from her in birth, in life, and in death. The monuments could clearly not have been built with slave labor, but with the love labor of farmers, women, and men who were in tune with great psychic physical powers. To carry through such a task, they lived a peaceful existence. Perhaps natural magic energy was released from the earth and used on an everyday basis by the people. Ancient myths of the dragon serpent guarding a mysterious and symbolic treasure perhaps refer to lost secrets of crop fertility, a hidden power running in fertility currents through the countryside. The story goes that anyone who tastes the dragon's blood becomes at one with nature and forever understands the songs of birds. Perhaps this is the bloodstream of the mother gushing from the earth at sacred wells. The ancients knew that some wells and stones, drunk or torched or embraced in a certain way and at certain times of the year, could regenerate and revitalize people and animals. Sacred stones seem to contain and emit a force that periodically waxes and wanes. Beneath each active standing stone, there appears to be a crossing of underground water streams, the movement of water through a tunnel of earth, particularly through clay soil, creates a small electrical field for which the stone acts as an amplifier. When this energy power emerges from the ground, it does so in the form of a spiral, ascending in 7 coils, the lowest 2 beneath the ground. This is not a stable phenomenon, but waxes and wanes, changing polarity every month. After waning, it dies away for a few days and then waxes in the opposite direction. It cyclically increases and decreases until the end of the lunar phase. The end of the moon's orbit was essential to megalith builders, the people of the moon, the stones, and the serpent goddess. The stones might also have functioned as a means of communication over long distances, since the magnetic force that activates the stones also links them in a continuous chain of vibrations. The ley lines pass for the force, interlock in a cobweb of stones, circles, mounds, and burrows all over the earth. But the stone circles would not have been fully activated unless the calendrical events were accompanied by human rituals and dance, sometimes sacrifice, which focused the forces and fixed them in the stones. Fire, like water, was essential to the workings of the monuments and their hidden power. At May Day night was the moment when Beltane fires were lit from hilltop to hilltop to celebrate the coming of the new moon. On May Day, the people drank from the sacred well and circled it 9 times. The May Day sunrise links Avebury in a direct line with Glastonbury Tor some 40 miles away. Glastonbury looks as human-made as Silbury Hill, but it was actually shaped by volcanic rock violently thrown into the sky in an otherwise flat and marshy land. Glastonbury's spiral path, however, was molded by human hands. It is a three-dimensional labyrinth, rising up the Tor in 7 circuits. Nearby is sacred Chalice Well, anciently called Blood Well, because of its miraculously healing red-stained waters. Not far from Glastonbury is Wookie Hole, an ancient cave where the rites of the winter death goddess were probably enacted. According to the myth, in this cave lived a terrible and bloodthirsty witch who demanded human sacrifice. She was supposedly finally exorcised by a Christian monk from Glastonbury. The persistent British myth of the slumbering giant Albion and the return of King Arthur and the Golden Age is really the legend of the reemergence of the goddess and her people, the great mother and cosmic harmony we lost with Avebury. Today we live truly in the mythic wasteland of patriarchy, awaiting her rebirth and return with the spring of reemerging women cultures. And thank you for supporting this playlist. All right, I really appreciate it. Thank y'all for liking, commenting, and subscribing once again. Y'all keep it coming. Stay blessed, and I'll see you later. Bye-bye.